Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Veterans Day program. Thank you for coming outside with us today. I know it's a little brisk, but I think you'll be pleased when you see what we have in store for you. First, we're going to have the raising of the flag, and while the flag's being raised or lowered, we're supposed to be silent in respect. So Justin Manns and Matt Walker, the Services Program, are going to raise the flag for us at this time. If you notice, they didn't raise it all the way to the top. They kept it at half staff or half mast. And I think we've seen that before, but I'm not sure that everybody understands the significance of half staff or half mast. So with us today we have Michaela Herndon of the Protective Services Program. She's a junior, and she is going to be telling you what that means. Senior, sorry.
An easy way to remember when to fly the United States flag at half-staff is to consider when the whole nation is in mourning. These periods of mourning are proclaimed either by the President of the United States for national remembrance of the governor of a state or territory, for local remembrance in the event of the death of a member of a former member of the federal, state, or territorial government, or judiciary. The heads of the departments and agencies of the federal government may also order the flag to be flown at half-staff on buildings, grounds, and naval vessels under their jurisdiction. In the early days of our country, no regulations existed for flying the flag at half-staff, and as a result, there were many conflicting policies, but on March 1st, 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower issued a proclamation on the proper times.
Thank you, Michaela. At this time, I would like to introduce Matthew Walkup, a sophomore Protective Services student. He's going to tell us a little bit about TAPS. We have the Du Bois Honor Guard with us today. They're going to be performing TAPS as well as the 3 volley.
It all began in 1862 during the Civil War, when Union Captain Ronald Alcorn was with his men near Harrison Landing in Virginia. The Confederate Army was on the other side of the narrow strip of land. During the night, Captain heard the moan of a soldier who laid mortally wounded on the field, not knowing it was a Union or Confederate soldier. The captain decided to risk his life and bring the sickened man back for medical attention. Crawling on his stomach through the gunfire, the captain reached the stricken soldier, began pulling him towards the encampment. When the captain finally reached his own line, he discovered it was actually a Confederate soldier, but the soldier was dead. The captain lit a lantern. Suddenly he caught his breath, went numb with his shock, in the dim light, the face of a soldier. It was his own son. The boy had been studying music in the South when the war broke out. Without telling his father, he had enlisted in the Confederate Army. The following morning, heartbroken, the father asked permission of his superiors to give his son a full military burial despite his enemy status. His request was partially granted. The captain had asked if he could have a group of Army band members play a funeral for his son at the funeral. That request was turned down since the soldier was a Confederate. Without the respect of the father, they said they could give him only one musical. The captain chose a bugler. He has the bugler to play a series of musical notes that had found on a piece of paper in the pocket of his dead son's uniform. The wish was granted. The musical was the haunted melody we all know as the taps that is used in military funerals.
Thank you, Matthew. Justin Manns would like to explain to you now the gun salute and 3 volley. Justin is a junior protective services student.
The act of gun saluting originated from ancient warrior groups whose sign of peace would render their weapons useless. With the advent of gunpowder and cannons, and firearms that only held one shot, after shooting them they became ineffective. Naval ships originally fired 7 gun salutes. 7, probably because God rested on the 7th day. However, land artillery batteries could store more dry gunpowder, so they could fire 3 times as many rounds as a naval ship. So a salute from the shore will be 21 rounds. Eventually, by 1890, most nations, including the United States, adopted a 21-gun salute as an international salute of honor to a nation's dignitaries. The 3 rifle volleys, fired at a veteran's funeral, are often confused for a 21-gun salute. The 3 rifle volleys come from traditional battle ceasefire. These volleys indicated that the men that were dead were cleared and taken care of. The firing team is usually seen as a team of 8, including 7 riflemen and 1 non-commissioned officer. Today's 21-gun salutes are used by the nation's military as a symbol of honor for both foreign and domestic dignitaries in times of peace.
Thank you, Justin. At this time, the Du Bois Honor Guard, led by Mr. Michael Scan. Also with him today, Mr. Al Haberling, Mr. Dick Trudgeon, Mr. Tony Walonis, and Mr. Roger Dries will play taps and fire off a 3 volley.
Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire. Appreciate. Huh.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'd like to continue the Veterans Day program in the gym. If you could, in a very orderly fashion, please walk around the side of the building and enter the gymnasium.
We could literally back the wall.
What do you want? That wasn't even me.
I did that in...
Thank you. We had an essay and an art contest at Jeff Tech for our Veterans Day program. We had a number of individuals who participated in it, and Ms. Angela Dragich, our art instructor / math instructor, was kind enough to take care of this part of the Veterans Day program for me. And since she's the art teacher, that makes perfect sense. So she has some of the artwork on display that was submitted for this program. We'd like to thank everybody for entering. But at this time, I'm going to let her announce to you, you heard on the PA system who the winner was. She's going to introduce the winner and have them tell you a little bit about their artwork. So, Ms. Dragich.
Thank you, Ms. Mulholland. For the Veterans Day Art Contest this year, students were asked to portray their own personal appreciation to veterans for their service in their art. Students were asked to include an artist statement describing how their artwork displays the appreciation they have for veterans. There were a total of 9 entries for the contest. Please take some time to look at the artwork submitted by Jonathan Herndon, Lexi Douglas, Courtney D. Haven, Bethany Moore, Phoebe Stanley, Leah Ness, Jade Steele, Taylor Reed, and David Huey. The results for the contest are first place Jonathan Herndon, second place Lexi Douglas, and third place Courtney D. Haven. These 3 students will share with us an artist statement that describes their artwork and how their artwork displays their appreciation for veterans. Let's have Courtney D. Haven, third place winner, first speak.
My painting is in honor of Veterans Day. Our flag is featured flying high with freedom and pride. The fireworks represent a celebration of the priceless gift of freedom that our veterans have given to us. I wanted my painting to represent the new generation, respecting past generations with their country's sign of freedom and patriotism. I painted fireworks in the background to celebrate and honor all the people who have fought, sacrificed, and died for this beautiful country.
My artwork pictures a soldier's face with the left side portraying him at home and the right side deployed and on duty in another country. On each side of the soldier's face, you can see what he is thinking about. On the right side, while fighting for our country, the soldier is thinking about his family. He is picturing his wife and son decorated for a Christmas that he will miss. On the left side, while the soldier is back with his family, he is remembering his time while deployed. This symbolizes the sacrifice that the people in our military make for the benefit of our country. They leave their families and everything they care about for days, months, or years. They miss important events in their loved ones' lives, like births, graduations, birthdays, and deaths. Upon returning home, they are thinking about their experiences while deployed. Many are haunted by the things they've seen and the people they've lost. Our soldiers make a lifelong sacrifice for us and deserve to be recognized and appreciated for all that they do.
The Veterans Day picture represents a silhouette of 2 veterans from a bomb corner salute. The cloud on the left represents the men and the women who have served and died for making our country free. The cloud on the right represents the men and women still fighting to make our country. The center represents Iwo Jima, which shows that America is still standing and the flag stands still.
The
Second and third place winners are receiving some art supplies from Ms. Dragic. And the first place winner, Jonathan Herndon, is receiving $100 from Post 392, the American Legion in Reynoldsville. With us today, we have Mr. John Kuntz and Mr. Tom Weaver to present him with this $100 prize.
On behalf of the American Legion in Reynoldsville, we'd like to present you with a certificate and a $100 check for your contribution. You're welcome.
During our essay contest, we had a toss-up between two winners, and so I'd like to give an honorable mention to Kayla Baum. Her essay was also very well written, and she is receiving a $20 prize from the Jeff Tech staff. So I'd like to honor her at this time. I'd also like to introduce to you Michaela Herndon. This is her second year winning the essay contest. She is a senior, got it right this time. She is a senior protective services student, and she is going to read her essay to you. But before she does that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what the students were asked to write in their essays for the competition. If I can ever get my paper in front of me, because I've got way too many sitting here. The essay contest this year, this was the question. Veterans Day was once called Armistice Day and was declared a national holiday in 1938 by President Calvin Coolidge. Armistice Day was to honor veterans who lost their lives in World War I. By 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower signed the law changing Armistice Day to Veterans Day to honor all veterans who fought in all wars defending our country. How do you think other veterans felt about a holiday that was only recognized that only recognized veterans who fought in World War I? Why was making the change to honoring all veterans in our country so important? Why do you suppose Dwight Eisenhower, of all presidents, would be the one to recognize and make such a change to this holiday? Here's Michaela's essay.
To start off, I would like to stop and take a moment to recognize each branch of the military, starting off with the Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, and the Navy for your courage and sacrifice in serving our country. America would still not be here without you brave men and women. In 1990, Armistice Day was celebrated for the first time after fighting had ceased over in Versailles, France. In November, 7 months later, the Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1990. Armistice Day became a holiday in the United States on May 19, 1938. For many years, Armistice Day was celebrated to honor those who fought in World War I. That all changed on October 28, 1954, when President Dwight Eisenhower issued the first Veterans Day proclamation. The proclamation stated, in order to ensure proper and widespread observance of this anniversary, all veterans organizations, and the entire citizenry will wish to join hands in a common purpose. Toward this end, I am designating the Administrator of Veterans Affairs as Chairman of Veterans Day National Committee, which shall include such other persons as the Chairman may select, and which will coordinate at the national level agencies of the executive branch of the government to assist the National Committee in every way possible. This proclamation changed everything for those who put their life on the line to protect the Constitution of the nation from foreign and domestic disputes. I feel that other veterans would have been upset that only the veterans of World War I were recognized in November 11th. These other soldiers were not being recognized for their bravery and all that they had done to protect our nation. These soldiers are always on standby, ready to answer the call when tyranny comes knocking at the door. Across the many years of battle since this conception of this great nation, countless men and women that served in the pursuit of freedom have done it valiantly, even at the cost of their own life. Changing this day to honor all the veterans who have served in our country was imperative. If we had continued not to acknowledge those who had served, it would be unethical. What we have as a nation still standing, the dedication of these men and women who serve are the very thread that holds us together. Without you, our nation would fall in the sinister hands of tyranny. Due to your selfless acts of heroism, we continue to live our lives without oppression. I believe President Dwight Eisenhower of all veterans was the one who recognized that November 11th should be open to all veterans because he served as a general in the Army during World War II. As a president, Eisenhower understood the sacrificing that came when serving the country that we love. He was a natural leader that served diligently and continued on in leading his country when he became president, so that all who served would get the recognition that they deserve. In closing, I would like to thank all of you and the blood of the fallen that now breathe life into the heart of our beloved country. If we stay silent, but for a moment, you will hear the sound of freedom. It is the march of each of those who serve, soldiers that are always ready from dusk to dawn, and a moment's notice to give their all. They leave their families with a kiss on the cheek as they march towards the storm of injustice. You are the light when darkness descends, charging towards corruption. Never giving up, you are the beacon of hope. You defend freedom no matter the cost. You are the key to liberty and the reason we pursue happiness. Your dedication is steadfast like the hands of time, always constant and unwavering. When push comes to shove, you never lose the light of fighting for what is right. You are a bright shining star in the night. You illuminate the path of freedom when shadows of the adversary come crashing down. You swoop in like an eagle, the protector of America's freedom. So with a solemn heart here, I stand and say thank you for your service to those who are serving, still serving, and have served.
At this time, I would like to have the American Legion from Reynoldsville, Post 392, Mr. Weaver and Mr. Coons, again present Michaela with the $100 prize for her winning essay.
On behalf of the American Legion of Reynoldsville, we'd like to present you with a certificate and $100 check for your contribution.
The American Legion has been extremely generous each year for our program. They come to the program and they give our students prizes each year for their essay contest and their art contest. So we are very grateful to them for their support and generosity. I know our staff really dislikes it when we do this, but I think it's really important for the students to understand and see who works as a teacher at the school, but who also served in the armed forces. So if our personnel, as I introduce you, could come up and have a seat up here at the front, I would greatly appreciate that. Although I know you guys don't like this. They don't like attention being called to them. Mr. Richard Orr, or Chief. You will start on. Mr. Brian Baker, Air Force. Mr. Troy Conrad, Army. I'm not sure Mr. Kennedy made it down here, but if you see him today, he was a member of the Air Force, so please thank him as well. And a familiar face that's in the building quite often, who substitutes here and who has been a long-term sub with us also, Mr. Robert Michael. So when you encounter these individuals today, please make sure you thank them for their service as well. We have a guest speaker with us today to discuss with you a little bit about the American flag. We did our first part of the ceremony discussing the flag and taps and half-mast and the three volley and gun salute. And at this time we have Tim Sager from the Paralyzed Veterans of America with us today to discuss the meaning of the American flag. Please give him your warmest welcome.
Good morning, thank you. Hey, first of all, I've never been here. I live in New Bethlehem. This is a beautiful facility. It really is. You guys should be proud of your school here. It's just a great place. It really is. I was talking to some of the staff about what you guys do here, and it's very impressive. One of the things I couldn't have been more impressed with, though, was I've never seen so many kids or young adults stay quiet so long around that flagpole. That was pretty impressive, it really was. So my hats go off to you. You know, I don't even know, do they do this anymore in school? You guys say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
You still do? Oh, that's great. But here's the problem. Do you just say it? Or do you really listen to it? Do you understand what you're saying? Back in the 60s, there was a comedian, his name was Red Skeleton. And he came out on stage and everyone thought he was going to do a comedy routine. And he ended up doing a thing on patriotism and the flag. And it's mesmerizing, it really is. I was watching it the other day. I remember watching it as a kid. I was watching it the other day, and it does, it gives you tingling when you listen to it. Just get on YouTube and type in Red Skeleton and it'll be on there. So just see it as if you don't, I'd like to say Pledge of Allegiance and then talk about it a little bit. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's our pledge. And we say it, well, you say it, great. But do you really listen to words? First of all, a little background. The Pledge of Allegiance is also a pledge to the flag, because that's what we're doing. The other thing is the term under God was something that's added, and it's not coincidentally, but a couple of people want to talk about Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1954 had the phrase added. Now, it's all controversy because it's separating church and state. Some people didn't feel it in there. But the reason we put it in was back at that time, there were a lot of communist countries, and the president wanted to kind of set ourselves apart from that. So that's why everybody's had to do that pledge. So let me explain the Pledge of Allegiance a little bit for you. That's you. That's me. That's our individuals. We're making one. Pledge. That's your word. That's your promise. Okay? Allegiance. Allegiance is something that you devoted to, something you love. To the flag. The flag, or they call it, is a symbol of courage. And whenever you raise, there is respect. Because your loyalty has given your dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. That's what my flag symbolizes. Of the united. United is people, things coming together for one purpose. United. States. As individual communities made of pride, dignity, and purpose, each of them different. They're divided by imaginary lines, but yet we come together as one, which is our America. That's the combination of the states. And to the republic A republic is a place where power is invested into the representatives chosen by the people to govern them. And the government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not the other way around. It's not the leaders to the people. So this is our government. This is our government. For which it stands. That is talking about the flag, the flag people, what it represents. It is a symbol of our government. One nation, that means so blessed by God. We are one nation, then added under God. Indivisible. We are capable of being divided. We are indivisible. Not invisible, indivisible. With liberty, which is freedom. The right power for one to live their own life without fear, without threats, or any sort of retaliation. That's it. And equally with others. For all. For all. That means all of us. That means boys, girls, men, women. It's as much your country as it is mine. That's what it means. So if you break this down and you really look at what you're saying, you should be able to just not go through the words. It should not be something you're just reciting because you have to. Something that you were forced to remember as a kid, and you did to start the day, but you never thought about it. So the next time you do that, the next time you stand, and you put your hand across your heart and you say the words, please try to understand what those words mean. And the sacrifices that the veterans here behind me have made to make those words mean something. So if you don't mind, indulge me a little bit here and stand, and let's all say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's all I got. In the future, when you go to say that pledge, that you say the meaning and the feeling, and don't forget the people that have sacrificed for you. Thank you.
I had offered for students to bring in family members to introduce to us who have served in the military, and we did have one taker this year. Courtney DeHaven decided to bring in her father, Michael DeHaven, so at this time I would like to let Courtney introduce him to you.
Good morning. My name is Courtney DeHaven. I am in the 10th grade and a member of the cosmetology program. Today, I have invited my father to our Veterans Day celebration. He retired from the U.S. Marine Corps after serving more than 20 years. He retired as a gunnery sergeant in the Air Wing, and for most of his career, he worked on the C-130s, including Fat Albert of the Blue Angels. He has always taught me to be strong, be confident, and work hard, and you can achieve anything. 241 years ago today, the U.S. Marine Corps was established. Happy birthday to all the Marines, and thank all veterans for your service.
We have a post-secondary student who also served in the military with us today, I believe. Would you like to come up? I wasn't sure you were here yet. This gentleman didn't have to come in here until 11 o'clock today. He came in early for the Veterans Day program, so I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his service and introduce himself.
My name is Dennis Bagler. I served in the U.S. Army for a little over 20 years. I was on the M1A1's tank. I served in Desert Storm. I was a drill sergeant and a master gunner. And I found no better family than the family I found in the military. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. He's not in and I didn't see him, so that's great. I wanted to close out the program. I've been doing the Veterans Day programs on and off here at Jeff Tech for 10 of the 26 years that I've been here. And one of the reasons that I have done the Veterans Day program all these years is because of my father, who was gracious enough to make the 2-hour drive with my mother here today so that I could introduce him. So I'd like to introduce you, Mr. Glenn Thompson. My dad is a veteran of the United States Army. Sorry. But he's also here so that I can share with you why I've been inclined to volunteer to run the Veterans Day Assembly at Jeff Tech for all these years. In the past, I've tried to speak minimally at these events and turn the spotlight over to our guests. But today, I would like to tell you what Veterans Day means to me as I step down as the person in charge of the program. I think it's time for new blood and somebody who can bring some fresh ideas to our assemblies. My father was in the service for 17 years, 2 years active duty, and the other 15 in the reserves. During that time, it was hard for my dad to work and stay in the military. The laws that are in place today to protect people from losing their jobs for military service didn't exist. Since my dad had a family to support, he was forced to retire from the military, or he probably would have stayed a lot longer. As my dad served in the United States Army, he quickly moved up in the ranks to become first sergeant. He was activated in 1950 and sent to Germany and returned to the U.S. in 1952. He was sent back to his hometown of Meadville, Pennsylvania from Indiantown Gap. In 1953, he was called on by a captain of the military who enlisted my dad's assistance in starting up a new unit in Meadville, since none currently existed there. There, my father started Company B, 1st Battalion, 112 Infantry Regiment. This is where my dad ended his military career. While my dad's military career was over when I came into the picture, his pride in our country, the way he honors veterans, helped me become the person I am today. I am proud to be an American because of the example my father set for me. Thank you, Dad. I love you. Most of the students here have grown up having Veterans Day honored and being on the school for it. You see, before 9/11, we came to school on Veterans Day. People have started to forget how important our veterans and their contributions are to our country. I think when there are long stretches of peace, people become complacent or too comfortable. 9/11 definitely reawakened our country to the possibility of danger on U.S. soil, and from that point, I believe, more people started to take Veterans Day and their contributions more seriously. It seems to me, in my experience, that people often need a reality check from time to time to regroup and realize what is important. In other words, we often fail to appreciate what we have until it is in jeopardy or, in some cases, gone. Our freedom, for example. Most of us have absolutely no idea how fortunate we are to live in this country, how it is flawed in many ways, but overall, when you see what we have, what we can do in the United States of America compared to other places around the world, we are truly blessed. That blessing comes at a very high price for our military personnel and their friends and families. Because while the troops are the ones directly impacted as they preserve our way of life, their family and friends are also affected by their departure. And as we think about these brave men and women leaving their families, sometimes risking their lives for our country, for us, I think we should ask ourselves a few questions. Are we showing enough gratitude to them? And are we living our lives in a manner that warrants them losing their lives to defend us? We are quick to point out what we think is wrong with our country and the people running it. But when was the last time you attempted to find and discuss what is working in the United States? When was the last time you thought about what was right or thanked someone for doing a good job? Do you have integrity? Do you work hard? Do you honor yourself? When you show integrity, when you work to your full potential, when you respect yourself, you are in essence showing respect to the men and women who are serving in our armed forces. You are giving them a person worth fighting for. Can you imagine how difficult it would be to go into battle knowing you may not come back alive or whole? Now can you imagine how much harder it would be to lay down your life for people who are not grateful to our servicemen and women and who take for granted the freedoms this country offers to them? My husband, my son, and I recently went to Gettysburg, and while I knew a little about the Civil War from what I learned in history class, I was astonished to see the conditions these men had to endure during the battle, as well as this part of the battle, as well as the fact that they were oftentimes so close to one another that they were forced to partake in hand-to-hand combat using bayonets and sometimes the butt of the weapon. There were between 46,000 and 51,000 casualties during the 3-day battle in Gettysburg, where soldiers were killed, injured, captured, or missing. They knew that fighting at Gettysburg would most likely result in death, and they did it anyway. As people remain seated for the national anthem, stay seated during the Pledge of Allegiance, or mumble the words when they should be saying it with pride, imagine how that must make veterans in our country feel. Well, we inherit the right to refuse to stand or say the pledge because of our military and the freedom they have preserved for us. We should understand the meaning behind the American flag and the national anthem before we choose to do so. Our guest, Tim Sager, has told us what the flag means to this country. The national anthem, quite simply stated, represents the evolution of our nation over a period of time. By definition, it is a solemn, patriotic song officially adopted by a country as an expression of national identity. Our national identity. What does that mean? Does that mean we like everything our country represents all the time? Are we always in agreement? No. I like what Mac Engel says when he writes about our country. He says, in looking at the giant flag that represents so much to the history of what is flawed but wonderful about our country, he says this: America is a house, and Americans are family. Like most homes and most families, there's a high degree of dysfunction. And it's often a giant mess of noise, drama, action, love, and stupidity. It is also ours, and you don't just leave it. Now, unfortunately, we live in a throwaway society where we may give up too easily and dispose of what we have in lieu of fixing it. An elderly couple who was celebrating their 65th wedding anniversary was asked how they managed to stay together for so many years, and the wife said that she grew up in a generation where you fixed what was broken instead of throwing it away. Maybe she is making a valid point for us to consider. Maybe we should apply her words to the way we treat one another and this great nation. What are we taking for granted or simply discarding in our world? I hope it is not your gratitude to our veterans, your work ethic, or the way you handle people, or even yourself. Soldiers have given us a chance to live the American dream. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what someone told you about yourself, what mistakes you've made in the past. This is America, land of the free. How are you choosing to live your own American dream? To me, making a statement by refusing to partake in patriotism insults the people who are willing to die to make and keep this country free. It's easy to sit and not pledge allegiance. Dying for people who don't appreciate it, that's what's hard. And again, I ask you, are you an American worth dying for? If you're not, it's not too late to change. Remember, you don't have to agree with me. That is your right as an American. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to conclude our Veterans Day program, but I do want to thank a few people. These programs cannot take place. I know I'm the one that you see in front of everybody who's in charge of it, but I could never, ever do this alone. And if I forget anybody, please forgive me. But a special thanks goes to Kim Engel and Denise McGarvey for getting the luncheon area ready and decorated for us. Anna's Catering and Google Energy for the luncheon for the veterans. Kenny Spiker and Troy Frederick for always doing a fantastic job setting things up for us. Drew for always printing everything in this building. Mr. Otero and his students for doing all the filming of the event. Our staff, I'd like to thank all of our veterans. Again, Mr. Richard Ward, Mr. Brian Lankford, Mr. Troy Conrad, Mr. Kevin Kennedy, and Mr. Robert Michael. To our protective services students who helped run this program, Justin Nance, Michaela Herndon, and Matthew Walker. To Ms. Angela Dragich for the art competition, and to all the students who entered the art competition and essay contest. To Courtney DeHaven for bringing in her father to meet with us today. To all of our guests who made this event possible, the American Legion of Reynoldsville for the support and generosity, the Du Bois Honor Guard for always making time to come to Jeff Tech for our Veterans Day assemblies, our guest speaker, Mr. Tim Sager, of Paralyzed Veterans of America, for making the trip here today and to share his knowledge with us. And Mr. Michael DeHaven and Mr. Glenn Thompson for joining us today to be introduced to our students and staff. Most importantly, I'd like to thank all of you. Mr. Sager wasn't kidding when he said that you guys really show pride in your country by the way you behave today. Most of you were quiet, respectful, and I cannot thank you enough. I am very proud to be a teacher at Jeff Tech and very proud of all of you. Thank you. At this time,